Hello, BookTube. I'm dealing today with one of our favorite things, all of us. We are all very different. We all have very many different likes and dislikes. There's one thing we all love, and that's an empty bookcase. All of you do, I know you do, and I do. This is the bookcase in question, and I found it on the sidewalk when I was walking with the bean one day. I brought it in, and I cleaned it up. I think it could stand another thorough clean. It's 3 shelves, and the shelves are full-sized. So any kind of book except art folios will fit in there. But I think it was originally constructed as an addition to a previously existing bookshelf, right? Because there's no bottom to it. It's just the floor here. And there's this thing right here, which seems like the kind of detail that would only make sense if this were at your breast level instead of on the floor. That doesn't make much sense for it to be on the floor and obstructing the books, right? Because the books, when they go in here, there's space behind this. So it takes a little bit of finessing. You're not going to want to be on all fours when you do that. So my thought was that this should go on top of a bookcase that's already here. And there are surprisingly few options here at Hyde Cottage for that. I've been looking all around. The reason this thing's been sitting on the floor all this time is because I've been looking all around for a possibility. My little book room is completely ruled out. It is perfectly full of books. Perfectly. There is no way to increase the number of books in that room without inconveniencing myself. Every inch of wall space is covered, except for the tiny amount of space needed for my little pre-World War II bed. that is all. And I'm not going to put the bed in the middle of the room. That seems just awkward. The bed should line one of the walls. But that room has been more carefully scrutinized ergonomically than any other room here in the house. And there's no way that this can go in there. Which means it has to go somewhere else. But there's a low bookcase. You can't see it. It's directly behind the camera in this room that perfectly fits underneath the sills of the windows, the big windows in this room. I don't want to put a bookcase in front of them. That's all the natural light that this room gets, almost, except for Frida's little window. But all the other bookcases, or most of them, as you can see, they reach pretty high. They go pretty high up to the ceiling. The one candidate is that bookcase right there. That is, as you can see, that is new releases. That is my work bookcase that used to be crammed full of galley copies and finished copies. It still has a fair share of numbers of them, even post-pandemic. It still has a fair share of them, and it could stand to have more. It's possible that 2023 that the volume will go up on those, but it works just fine the way it is. The current month on top, the next month underneath that, the next month underneath that, and so on. It works just the way it is. It doesn't need to be any bigger. I don't get a whole lot of review copies 6 or 7 months out of the line. So I don't need a bookcase to be the whole year of advance copies. And that's kind of what that bookcase is for. That's what I use it for. So if I put this thing on top of there, it would have to be something else. It would have to just be, it'd be workbooks, because they're going to stay there, and then something else on top. So that doesn't work. And there are 2 other candidates, and they have wall-hanging artwork above them. And not only that, but they form a more or less contiguous line at about breast level. If I put this on top of one of them, not only do I have to have my surly houseboy move the artwork, take it off the nail, find a spot that will hold the painting, and then move it there. But also, that would mean that one of those bookcases had a bookcase on top of it, and the others didn't. That doesn't seem like it works either. I think this was probably originally designed. I mean, it's got these neat little details here, one up there and one down here. These neat little things that I'm almost certainly going to rip off at one point or another by accident. But I think it was probably designed to go on top of a bureau of some kind or a dresser of some kind. And I don't have anything like that. Those are the only furniture here is books. So it's been on my mind. I thought I'd make a quick video about it because I don't know, first, where I'm going to put it. And then second, what I'm going to do with it. First, I want to give it a more thorough cleaning. I'll take an abrasive pad get all of the dirt and dust off it, and then I'll take some alcohol swabs, isopropyl alcohol swabs, and go over it all again, just to make sure I've got every last thing. You'd be amazed. Well, maybe you wouldn't be if you do it yourself. If you clean something, you can clean something with a cloth or a scouring pad, all you want. And then you dry it off and you let it air dry, and then it sits there and you think, okay, well, that's clean. Then take an alcohol swab and run it over the thing. The thing will come back black. So I'll do that. I'll give it a thorough clean. But then what to do with it? I'm naturally thinking about it because of this whole ban on book buying thing. I'd like to fill this thing soon. I don't think I'll fill it this year for totally organic reasons that have nothing to do with any book buying ban. I think every year my book buying tends to slow down at the end of the year. But next year, what is going to go here? Science fiction hardcovers? Can't be biography. There are way too many of those. Can't be history. There's way too many of that. Contemporary fiction? I don't tend to keep a lot of that. Semi-contemporary fiction? Novels written in the 21st century? Maybe. How many of those do I have? Literary criticism. Books about books? Not a chance. There's a gigantic bookcase, floor to ceiling, completely full, and it's overflowing. It needs a companion bookcase. That's another piece of ergonomics that I need to work out here, is where to put that. I think, horrifyingly, that it probably involves a massive move. The bookcase of books, well, I can show it to you, that thing right there. That bookcase is too crowded. I don't know if you could see it. I'll have to check the video. But that bookcase is too crowded. And I think the solution is to wholesale swap it with some other settled part of my collection. And the natural candidate is biographies, which have a floor-to-ceiling bookcase and an adjacent bookcase. It would be just enough space. But that would mean taking everything off both shelves and moving them. That's a huge endeavor. But what about this little thing? This is a cute little thing. I ordinarily now have the strength of will when I'm out on the walk with the bean to ignore empty bookcases. I have a tendency of finding them, right? Because if you live anywhere near student housing, or if there's a rapid turnover in leases where you live, then on move-out day at the end of whatever month, you're going to find furniture on the sidewalk, and quite often that's bookcases. Some weird people, when they're moving, leave bookcases behind. I don't understand that at all. But even though I find a lot of them, I don't adopt a lot of them. I brought this one in because I like it. I like the look of it. It seems solid and finished. It's not one of those particle board monstrosities where if you put weight on this shelf, it's going to start to bow right away. It's not that. So all I need to do is find out where to put it and then figure out how to fill it. But anyway, some thoughts on an empty bookcase for your consideration. Nothing you do to help, except for the one or two of you might come over for wine and calzones. You can help me then. You can move it yourself, and so that I don't have to. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I wanted to show you my ponderings on a bookcase. Where do I put it, and then what do I fill it with? It's got to go on top of another bookcase. It doesn't work sitting on the floor. It's clearly not meant to, or it would have a bottom shelf. I mean, there'd be a bottom shelf here. It does have a bottom opening, but either it was meant to sit on top of something else, or it was designed with the idea that you wouldn't put books down here, that you'd put something else down there, maybe shoes or something, and that only these two shelves would be for something else. And that's heretical. Every inch of this thing's going to be covered in books, and they're going to be piled on top here, going up to the sky. In due time. This is a before. I'll show you the after when I decide what to do. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.